Okay, this next one is going to be something else. What's the problem? In the pictures you saw a second ago, I got a pontoon boat. I want a swim deck on it. Right now, you either got to get all the way in the water and then climb back out the ladder. You can stand on the ladder, and whatnot, but trying to manipulate a dog to get it back on board while standing on the ladder is difficult, and the hole in the fence there's not good. So I have an idea of how to make this work. I have a 2-tube pontoon boat, the older style, and I can't find anything on the market that's going to be like what I am making. I saw one from some company called Splash Steps, but I think they're like $11 million. I mean, exaggerating, of course, but I think they're made for people with disabilities, and I don't know if it's a medical device, but I think they're super spendy because they're a motorized system. I want this to fold up where the fence is, not be in the way of normal operations, and then when you want to throw the anchor out in a cove and a lake kind of thing, this just flops down twice, and that's it. It's locked in place. It's strong enough. You can sit 400 pounds worth of people on it if you wanted to, and sit there, and you would be in about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches of water as you're sitting there on the swim platform, maybe more. It wouldn't matter. I don't care about the actual distance as long as it makes sense. You want it to be a reasonably short step back up into the boat. So how am I going to do it? Well, rather than creating something completely from scratch, I have a TIG welder. I am relatively unskilled. If you watch this channel, you know that. I don't want to try to custom fabricate a really, really nice whatever because I don't have the skill, I don't think, nor the time, and to buy the raw aluminum stock from the metal suppliers as a Joe Schmo and not a contractor, it's expensive. You'd be $400 or $500 into it. So I went and got the trifold Harbor Freight aluminum loading ramps for loading ATVs in the back of a pickup truck. My plan is to take one segment of that, remove the hinge. That's about, I think 13 or 14 inches across. Might only be 12, but that's fine. It's just so you can sit on this thing. I'm going to take one section of that off, cut it to the right length, and then make it hinge down accordingly. So it'll be tricky. Like I said, I don't want any tools to be involved when you want to deploy it and pull it back up. So I think it's going to hang by a very stiff rope with no stretch in it, and just get it exactly positioned right on the left and right side once, so that when you go to lift it up, it just hinges up and folds against the front fence. It's actually the same height as the front fence, no more than that. And then, yeah, it just flips down and it's in the water, and there you go. You can sit on it, and because these are ramps with spaces in between it, water can slide. If the boat moves up and down with a wake, water can go through the holes in these ramps. So that's the plan. It's going to be crazy. I've never MIG welded aluminum. I don't know that I have a setup that'll work. I do not have a spool gun. Other people online said if you just get aluminum wire, you use the appropriate gas, and you have a good slick tube, feed tube on your welder and your MIG welder, and you don't hold the lead so it's has a bunch of turns in it. It's just a straight shot out. You can get by with a regular MIG welder and it will feed it most likely. We're going to try it because it's easier and, more importantly, way faster than TIG welding would be for this aluminum. So we're going to give that a shot, and once I figure out how the geometry and everything's going to go together, I guess I'm going to try welding. So I bought a bunch of aluminum stock from Rural King. So it's not 6061, but I think for this project with an old pontoon boat to make a swim deck, it'll work. Let me see. I can't tell from the tag what the type of aluminum is. But anyways, that's the plan. I don't think I'm going to need those, but I got some self-tapping stainless steel to hold stuff together. I don't have a complete plan of how this is going to go, so we're just going to proceed and play and maybe figuring out how to do some aluminum MIG welding, which I've never done. But a shout out to SV Seeker. If you haven't seen that channel, he does so much custom work. They're trying to build a sailing vessel called Seeker, and he does everything from casting, brass, aluminum. They made their own propellers. It's just very much a do-it-yourself project to try to get this boat put together to do scientific research later on when it finally launches. And he's got great customization videos and stuff like how easy aluminum welding really is. And he uses a spool gun, which is the, for sure, right way to do it. Unless you want it to look really super clean and nice, then you use a TIG welder, but blah, blah, blah. We're going to try it with a regular Harbor Freight MIG welder with the appropriate gas for welding aluminum and see what happens. Well, dippity-doo. I forgot that these came with their own chains. That may be just the ticket, although, meh, I don't think they're long enough instead of the ropes. Anyway, that's the ramps. So one segment of that's going to be a swim platform, and I'm thinking that the other two segments are going to get chopped up for pieces to use to attach to this one. For example, these slats like this, I think I'm going to take them off of the other two and put them pretty tight together in here. Hopefully small enough so dog feet can't go through there, but water can pretty easily get through it. We'll see what happens. So this is the pickle, the Pontoonus boatus. So my plan is, I think, see these big eye bolts? Hold this rope. They're nothing. They act right now as a secondary restraint to go on here in case that fails, but totally not needed. They don't go anywhere except right through this big aluminum seat channel. The big aluminum seat channel is, I don't know if you can see it, connected to the I-beam. I think they're Z-beams. Anyway, my plan is mount them here. Then there'll be a rod of some sort that connects and goes straight down here and connects to the back corner of the swim platform, which will be flat across here. Then you'll have to have something that makes a triangular support from either, again, the eye bolt that would go down to the, I can't point, eye bolt to the front corner. So well, you can see where the water sits right here when nobody's on it. This is where it sits probably if you're planed out. It's hard to tell from the dirt mark, but pretty sure this is where it would sit ish, empty. So with a couple people sitting on this thing, that's probably the water level about there, and that's probably 10 or 11 inches is it below the deck. So that's how far down it would come. And my plan was then that it would fold up this way, and then it's just hanging on those the eye bolts that would be over here, not over there. And then it would fold up again, fold flat against this fence. So that I couldn't explain that very well. And I have a Pixel 4 camera. These do not have a wide angle, so supposedly they're good for zoom, but they're terrible for wide angle. Anyway, that's what I got at the moment, so I'm just trying to show you. The swim platform will be, the back end of it will be basically flush with the front of the boat, and it'll stick forward however wide one of those Harbor Freight ramps is, probably about 12 inches. So my guess is you'd be sitting here right on the front with your back almost against, your shoulder blades almost against that. And you could sit there, and that might be a very comfortable place to sit, where you're maybe water's just above your legs or just about waist deep, but you're sitting on that swim deck. It'd be real easy to turn around, just kneel on it and climb on in with the fence, and a real comfortable place to sit and hang out in the cove. So that's the plan. Move the eye bolts over to here. There's about 57 inches of space between the pontoons where you could go straight down from there. So that's about the width of what I want this swim platform to be. And it'll be folded all the way up against the fence until you want to use it. And then it'll flop down and, you know, be flat-ish compared to the surface of the water, and probably just sitting into the surface of the water an inch or two would be about perfect. And then I'll have to figure out, it's either going to be a heavy-duty rope without any stretch that'll connect to the fence, or have a clip, that a U-shaped piece that clamps on up here and goes to the corner, so it's easy to deal with. It doesn't make any noise. Or it may be a chain, it may be a solid bar. You just stick one pin in it when you have it deployed, and then when you want to pack it up, you just pull the pin and fold it up, and theoretically reuse the same pin to hold it in position in its travel configuration, and it would replace this piece of fence. This will come off. That only gets used during fishing adventures when a trolling motor's there. But when it's in pleasure cruise mode, if you will, the trolling motor's off like it is now, that fence can be removed like that, and this new thing will take the spot of filling that hole to keep the dogs from getting off, kind of thing. So anyway, I'm rattling along, but that's the plan, that's the problem. I can't find any commercial products, not one, that's made for sticking off the bow and doing what I want, where it's a sit on or stand on it swim platform. So I'm gonna try to make this thing plenty strong enough that 400 pounds of people could stand on it in the front, and nothing's gonna happen. And water can still splash through it and whatnot in case the boat gets some waves, which it inevitably will. Even when you're sitting in a cove, somebody will go blasting by you. We'll see. That's the project though that we're working on. Okay, just filling you in on my scheming. I got this hooked underneath the one slat, or whatever you call that part of these ramps. Anywho, I mentioned the space between the pontoons is about 57 inches. Well, if you scooch up here, 51 is where the last one ends. You couldn't, if you tried to use the one all the way up to 58, it wouldn't fit. So 51 is the length that it would get cut off. And that's probably good, because that leaves a couple inches at the ends, which is where those support posts would go. Well, looky what I'm thinking about doing. I think a very strong way to make those supports would be, I'm gonna keep one of these 3 segments for the swim platform. I'm gonna take all the center, drill these rivets out, and take these slats and put them in between on the one I'm going to use, so it fills in all the spots so dog feet won't fall through. You can certainly stand on it and kneel on it. I think dog feet won't fit through it. I'm going to have to measure, but hopefully that's the case. Who cares? I'm rattling. What am I talking about? The ends here. I think that would be a very strong component piece to make those supports out of for the corner braces. So that's the plan, is to cannibalize and scavenge just parts off of this and silliness. That may mean I don't need to do any welding. Just not sure. If anything, I wonder if I'm able to do that and just bolt things together and rivet things together, then probably I won't have to do any welding. I'm not disappointed though, because I wanted to get set up to be able to do MIG aluminum welding and see if you could hobo rig it on rare occasion. Not for all circumstances, but it would have been great for welding on the pontoon boat. I had a hole in one of the pontoons once where a factory weld had broke. I ended up trying to braze it. That kind of worked in one spot. Another spot, I did use the TIG welder. And that is a perfect use for the TIG welder. But just saying, if I ever wanted to fabricable any other aluminum bits and whatnots for the boat, it's lightweight material. I now know that for certain things, I don't have to bend the torch around in tight turns or anything. I could use that to do fast aluminum welding. Anyway, I got to rattle again. That's the plan. Cannibalize those ramps, cut it off at the 51-inch piece, take all the center slats out of the rest, and hopefully I'll be able to get them squeezed in between the other ones. All right, let's get going. Now you getting the idea, right? Nothing's riveted together, but I think this is the length it'll go. Where's it end up? Well, let me see. Can't do it one-handed. Yeah. So that puts it about 51 inches, and that's probably maxing it out. If I was smart, I'd do it a little shorter for strength, but I'm not smart. So I'm debating what to do on that. Do I want to double these up? Put one rail under there? I don't think so. I think what would be a lot more aesthetically pleasing would be slide a tube down the inside of those rails for extra strength. Because if you get a 250 pounder standing right in the middle and the supports are only at the corners, that's a lot of weight. And if this Harbor Freight thing was designed for 1,500 pounds, 500 pounds is pushing it for one of these 3 segments, and it's not designed, I'm sure, to have all the weight put right in the middle of it. So I want this thing to be bulletproof. I'm gonna have to figure out what to slide down those rails. I guess I'll have to go over to the metal supply joint and get probably round tubing that'll slide right down the middle. Anywho, then I'm going to at least I think this is the tentative plan, weld a cap on the end, and a thick one, and then that will be the pivot point. So that's where some kind of a bracket will connect to the front of the boat, and then the front edge here will be chained or rope. I'm not sure how that's going to be held on yet. I haven't figured it out. We'll see. Game changer. Into Harbor Freight. Got tired of, counted up the number of times I was gonna have to squeeze that handle thingy, and it was like 300 for everything I need to rivet. So got one of these, and it's just stupid easy now. There she is, boys. Huh? Super strong. I stood on it and it didn't even flex. So I think we got us a winner. Now I got to figure out how to put end caps on it. And I don't, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm going to weld something. It's got to be strong enough to handle the weight with one pin on either, well, one pin on all four corners, really. So I have to figure out how to do that yet, but this will get cut to the right length, which I think is 51 inches right here, and we'll proceed. Okay. My brain cannot handle the geometry of this situation, so I had to make a model. So that there, this labeled deck, is the width of the deck that I made. And it will pivot, so the pivot's in the right spot, right at the center of the corner. There's the plan. So if it goes like this here, this is really hard to film one-handed, but I'm trying to figure out what height to make this. Can you see what I'm doing? Probably not. What heights to make this that makes sense. So you can see where the water line is, because the pontoon is filthy, and just from eyeballing, it's, you know, go about like that is where it would sit. But so if a person gets all the way on the front of the boat, the front sinks down a little more than that, but how much more? I kind of was thinking this would be great if you're sitting in the water some, 3 or 4 inches in the water kind of thing. So I'm thinking just about this full length might be what I'm after. God, this camera has no wide angle view and it's annoying me. I didn't bring the tripod because I'm not up at the normal spot that I would be filming these. Anyways, if that was mounted here, the plan is to use those eye bolts, move them over here, put a plastic bushing in the center of it, and then the support will hang down from that eye bolt. So then this would pivot up. So if I pretended that right here where my thumb is where the screw would be, if I'm using this full length, just guessing on this wood, and then you flip it this way. Oh my God, I cannot film this. Flip the deck flat with its support on the side of it. And if this was right about there, the full length, it's about the same height as my fence, and that would be fine, because that would be its folded up position like that. And then when you wanted to fold it down, you would just go like that, whoop, and then fold the deck forward, whoop, like that. And then it would sit where you'd be sitting in, I don't know, once you got 2 people on here and the weight on the front of the boat, you'd probably be sitting in 3 or 4 or 5 inches of water, something like that. And that'd be a nice place to perch and hang out, was my thinking. So I think I accidentally guessed right. We're gonna go with this geometry and make it happening. Then I'm gonna finish building the platform itself that you sit on. And I have a plan of making it super strong. So what's the last bit? The part that I didn't like, but I can live with, is the brace that's going to have to be down here. So if I pretend this is a brace, let's put it this way, and it was going to go something like that, it's going to touch the water, at least by the way I have it now. So I didn't really want it to be in the water, nor did I want it to be attached to the deck part, which it could, I guess, but I wanted it to be permanently mounted under the boat. So when you swing this thing down like this, it has a brace down there at the bottom. So it's super strong. Not only can it handle the weight pulling down this way, but it's going to have a tendency to want to push in like that, and that brace would stop that from happening. So you don't want this, and even if that was all super strong, the last thing is you don't want this deck to be weak in the middle. I want to be able to put like 450 pounds in the middle of it and not have it bend or give. I want it to be super strong so that two people could be sitting on it, and if one of the dogs decides to jump over there, you're trying to lift the dog in the boat, and you got a 90-pound lab that, again, you're not buckling the metal and having an issue happen. So that's the plan. I guess we're gonna go with this geometry, and I'll have to figure out the bracing. Maybe I'll make some kind of a quick connect so that if you're gonna get in, well, it's only a 1 inch wide, so it's not like gonna make much water resistance. It's gonna be one spike sticking down on each side, just barely in the water anyways, but maybe I just ignore it. It's 1 inch. How much resistance can a 1 inch pipe have? I don't know if I wanna worry about it. I probably will worry about it, and I'll try to make it a quick disconnect. So that has to be figured out yet, but I can at least get the rear support for the deck installed with this geometry and then move on to the next step. All right, sorry about the crappy film and angles. Good gravy. Just a quick comment related to the last aluminum welding video, if you watch my channel. I decided to go ahead and just weld these, I don't know, they're 16th inch wall extruded tubes. I don't know what they were from my scrap pile to practice with. But anyway, I decided to just try it again. And with the thinner material, I had it on the minimum setting on that Harbor Freight cheap MIG welder, 100% argon. And yeah, it welded just fine. I wanted to see though, so I ground off everything. And it's definitely welded. So for light duty stuff, it works great. For heavier duty stuff, I think it will work okay too. Like I said, this is not the precision and nice, clean look of TIG welding, but it's so much faster. For certain projects, it would make sense. I just wanted to see if I could add that capability to my, you know, skill set, if you will, if needed someday. So I didn't sand off the center one, and I really bubblegummed that one. But anywho, works. You can use a cheap Harbor Freight MIG welder with 100% argon, no spool gun, nothing. Just shove that aluminum wire through there. And just to be clear again, this was 0.035 wire size and Hobart aluminum wire from Rural King. That's it. No battle plan survives first contact with the enemy. So there's the platform. It does good. I can stand right in the middle of it, and it doesn't really flex. Anyways, oh my God. Pain in the pickle. So, scheming. This is the same material that makes up the rails, leftover pieces. So the new plan is, that's the same way, see, that geometry sits. The new plan is, I had a bunch of solid aluminum stock. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to connect to this with a bolt, right? A pin that's going to be the pivot. Well, we're backwards, but the front and the back corner both need a bolt sticking straight out of them, or a pin, or something to which the back support is going to be like this, right? And the front support's going to be something like that. Something. I don't know, it's going to be this solid thing, or I talked about a rope. I'm not sure yet on that, but the back one is going to be metal. And this is thin wall aluminum, but I think I'm going to, in the interest of fabricating, because I don't have a thick walled square tube 1 inch, I'm going to use this, and then I can always make a new piece later if the same 1 inch outside dimensions there, then it's no big deal. So, all right, originally I said I was going to use that steel pipe over there, weld a cap on the end of it, then weld a nut on it so you could thread a bolt. Well, I don't like any of that plan. The new plan is to machine a hunk of this solid aluminum to slip inside that dimension about, I don't know, 1 inch probably, and thread the block itself. So I'll drill holes on 3 sides of it, slide the block in it, and then butt weld the holes shut and grind those smooth. Then this will be a solid plug in the end of here with a threaded hole. That should be plenty strong enough. Then I'm thinking I use stainless steel bolts. There'll be a plastic washer that would go on the end here. So you put the support piece on, you know, like this, and a plastic washer between it and that's what will now be a solid piece of aluminum. And then it would rotate smoothly. Use a stainless steel bolt so it won't rust, and use blue thread lock. So you could get it back out if you wanted to, but it's not going to vibrate out. So you can just snug it exactly where you want it, leave it. I think that'll make this thing hinge up and down real nice and smooth, and you'll be all set. I thought about a plastic cap for those. That's not going to happen. The sharp edges, I think, even though I said I was going to butt weld, I may instead, if it's a pretty tight fit with the aluminum block, just slide it in there and weld all the way around and then grind it smooth. Then there'd be no sharp edges and totally sealed up on the ends. These rails can still drain because there's holes where the hinges used to go on the sides when it flips up. I may have to drill a couple in the front underneath somewhere. I'm liking this geometry though because there's no holes in the front. So that's the way the swim platform would sit. I think that looks the best, and then it's got ridges that run both ways, so if you're going to use it just to step off the boat for a beach landing, you don't slip. It's a little less chance of slipping because the other side of the rails doesn't have any ridges on them. So I think it looks the best to not have any holes on the front. I'll remove that sticker. I think that's a clean look. But anyway, that's the plan. So what am I going to do? Well, I have a mill, a half-ass mill combo thing over here, but I've never used the mill head part. Well, I can't say never. I've used it once. For this one project, I don't feel like figuring out. This isn't that precise of a fit. I don't think it matters. I think with the bandsaw here, I can get everything done. So here's one of the blocks. I already marked it up, but you get the idea, I think. See the scribe lines? So once I get that finished, then I cut this into thirds. That'll be 3 of the pieces. I'll have to use the other block over there to make the 4th. That's the plan. I think it'll be plenty strong then, and I don't have to worry about the stainless steel bolts shearing off or something. I use 3/8 inch bolts. I think that should be plenty strong. That's the new plan. Proceeding. I tried really hard before, I didn't make a video of it, to set this cheap Chinesium bandsaw up so that it was gonna cut square and accurately. Well, I guess we're gonna find out. I already started it with just a little. Back with a full report later. see, this heard what I'm talking about. Cut them off the bandsaw and polished them up on the belt sander. Got them to close enough dimensions for welding purposes to get the idea. All right, that's gonna go in there. I don't want to stick it in there all the way because then it won't get out. It's a pretty tight squeeze. So I'll push that almost flush, drill a couple holes this direction through the thin walled stuff so I can butt weld at least, I don't know, 2 sides, maybe 3. I don't know. And then drill and tap this, and that'll be a large-ish, relatively speaking, area of threads. These are about 1 inch thickness. So it'll be 1 inch of threads. This is not the bolt, a 3/8 inch bolt. So, well, it's not even 3/8. I think that's 3. I don't know. Something along the lines of that there. So again, if that's sticking out there, I think that bolt will handle it because there's going to be 4 of them to spread the load out between. We'll have all these threads, and this block will be welded in the end of the tubes. That's the plan. And the bolt sticking out will be stainless. And I think that'll do it. So next up is, I guess, stuffing them in there and doing the welding. I'm not sure if I'm going to do actual TIG welding for this or MIG welding. I'm going to have to play and see what if the MIG welding looks tolerable. If the TIG welding looks way better and I don't even have to sand it when I'm done, it's just finished product, I might do that. But that requires me to drag it out and get it set up, and I already have the MIG welders set up, so I don't know. One way or the other, they're getting welded, tapped, and drilled. All right, Dan, we're going to test on some scrap pieces. That's just a big hunk of solid aluminum, like, well, the same stuff I made the pieces out of. They're going to get threaded. I don't know what setting to put this thing on. We're going to try the minimum again, see what happens. Let's see what happens. Oh, usually a good idea to wear welding gloves as an example, you know, things that are reasonable. Let's try to get the gas coming through here. All right. That's what I thought. Doesn't work for crap. That's no bueno. Did it hold it at all? Yeah, alright. So now what can I do? Slow the feed down a lot? It's going to be tricky. Perhaps, if I was smart, I would simply, right now, switch to the TIG welder. Nah. Yeah, that's probably going to happen. I'm going to play a little more. Let's play with this bottom end. I put it on minimum 2. Very specific settings. Dang it. Freaking cord was touching. Now, while that's ugly, I think it's what I said before is I think this will get things done for certain things, but I also think this particular application does need the better quality, nicer looking touch of a TIG welder. So I think this experiment is over. I'm going to reconfigure this welder back to regular MIG solid wire 0.03 get the aluminum spools out of there and get the TIG welder out. All right, I'm all set up. Had to do a total reset, which means ground off any nubs on that and then sanded it down and then wiped the whole thing down with acetone. So we should be ready for aluminum. I'm gonna get probably a new stainless steel brush on there, so we're ready, and then give it a go with the old TIG. I got the 100% argon on it. We should be set. Here we go. Well, I did it, and as expected, it is terrible. But I have an excuse. Besides the fact that I have no skills with a TIG welder, I have other excuses. See, they tricked me. I didn't know it. Got to looking at this end. It's double walled right here. I didn't even see that piece in there. So all the filth that's in between those two layers where I didn't wire brush it and wipe it down with acetone is bubbling up through the weld. And I was like, God, I know I suck, but I don't suck this bad, do I? So anyway, I gotta drill out that one rivet there. On this side, I'll drive the piece out. I don't know if this... I don't know what's going on now. I assume that this side had a piece and this one didn't. I hope so, because the aluminum blocks that I cut were dimensioned off of that scrap piece, assuming it was all the same. I don't know what this double walled dingus is gonna do. I actually don't know if there was a double walled dingus on this end or not. Maybe there wasn't. Actually, maybe there wasn't, and it's just my crappy welding skills. That's pretty likely, now that I think about it, because otherwise I don't think the aluminum block that I had machined would fit in there. But anywho, I'll grind this down. It'll look all pretty when I get done, and then I'll touch up the TIG welds on the other side. Hopefully, like most things, the more you practice it, the better you get. So by the time I get to the fourth one, it'll be nice and easy. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, it's done. God dang, I am no welder. I don't know if it's lack of skill or, this extruded aluminum maybe isn't pure. I don't know, but it's done. So there's a 1-inch solid bingus in each one of these. I did some crappy jobs of welding the hole shut, but next up is to drill and tap these 1-inch thick squares to accept the stainless steel bolts, and then the swim deck thingy should be done. I'm gonna rip the sticker off though and get all the glue off too. Fun. All right then, we're at the phase of drilling those holes. Trying to figure out how to do that and get them straight. Anyhow, the old shopsmith's coming through for me. Horizontal drilling operation. Whoop. The old chart on the wall over here says what for drilling and tapping holes. 7/16 inch bolt, 14 threads per inch, means that for aluminum, brass, etc., you want 75% thread for a tighter fit. Anyway, drill bit size U is what it says. So I just started off with 1/4 inch, but this is supposedly the size drill bit you're supposed to use before you run the tap in there. Speaking of which, since that's the next operation, let's get that out. There it is. 7/16, 14 threads per inch. That's the fella we want right there. Now it's aluminum, so you would think you could just jam it on in there with a drill, but I'm not taking any chances. We're gonna do it by hand. All right. So anyway, I got this thing set up to where, well, I mean, I just want to comment that the shopsmith with this power head, not necessarily the old ones, I can run it at 500 RPM. See? It's got tons of torque, even at the low RPM. It drilled that through just that quiet the whole time, like nothing. Well, that's fine. But what's nice is it's set up like a jig now. I just flip flip each end over end into here to drill the holes, and we're all set. Bada bing, bada boom. So I'm gonna drill them 1/4 inch first, and then come back and use U-size drill bit. See, everybody says those old shopsmiths, they're useless. Takes you 10 years to set them up. Well, they work just fine for certain things. It is true, they do take longer than having a bunch of static tools set up, but come on. It's about as easy as it gets. Nice and quiet. Easy peasy. Right in there. Just keeping decent light pressure on it. You saw the blocks, they're about 1 inch thick. Gotta be about through. There it is. All right, moving on, all 4. All right, then. Getting there. There it is. The aluminum's filthy. You can go over everything with the Scotch-Brite pad and make sure there's no nicks or burrs or sharp spots. But anywho, holes are threaded. 7/16-14. The stainless steel 2.5 inch 7/16 inch bolts bottom out, which is nice. That's what I wanted. Right where the thread starts, so there's a solid 1 inch of thread in there, welded on, so that's solid. And this is thick walled tubing, 1/8 inch tubing. So this end's gonna hang from the eye bolt on the front U channel of the boat. And then, as I said, what connects to the front and goes up diagonally to brace it, I haven't figured that out yet. I'm not sure how I want to connect that to the fence. I don't want it to be permanent, so it can be quickly, with no tools, just, pull a lever and the thing folds up. So this will be on the boat. Just pretend that was upright. This folds up. And then up here on this pivot, the hole works. Once that's folded up, hinges up that way and will sit against the fence in the front. That's the plan. So at least we got the welding done, everything cleaned up, the holes threaded and tapped. I had to acquire the bolts, which is a pain in the pickle. Online companies, for a rant here, it really pisses me off when it says in stock in your store and you get over there and find out, oh no, actually it's not. You're gonna have to wait a day or two. Just saying. But anywho, they had half of my stuff at the store, enough to get started, and I could always use just regular, non-stainless bolts for now and then replace them later. But trying to get as much done at the same time as I can. Memorial Day weekend is coming, and I'd really like to have this done and take the boat to the weekend where I can test it. The water's gonna be a little cold, but I don't know. Moving along, that's where we're at. I should have mentioned, I forgot. Now that we have this finished, we know for sure the dimensions where these eye bolts are going to be up here where this hangs from. And the width is 51 3/8 to the inside sides of those eyelets. So I need to know that so I can go down to the boat and take those eye bolts off, weld the eyes shut so they're not just they were solid loop all the way around. That's nothing with the steel welding's easy. And anyways, re-drill the holes, remount those so this is ready to hang. Then we're getting close. Then got to make the diagonal piece in the front, which I said I don't have figured out. And the last thing is to make the braces underneath the boat. What I mean is when this is hanging here, right, like this, it's going to have a tendency to push this way. I mean, the bottom's going to have a tendency to want to swing in that way. So when this swings down, I want something back here that this stops against when it swings down into position. And that's where there'll be a metal triangular piece that goes up underneath the boat right next to the pontoons where you can't see it. Doesn't get in the way of anything else when you're in motion. But when this thing swings down, the back side of these support posts has something to stop against. So it won't have a tendency to try to push into the boat like that. It'll be fixed at that vertical position so that this thing will remain parallel with the deck, and these will remain 90 degrees to the deck and not pinch under. All right, moving on. All right, we got these eye bolts. Well, we're using 7/16" bolts, which of course there'd be a ton of slop in there. I got them welded shut, so unnecessary. I can't imagine you'd ever there's no way you put enough weight on here to bend these, but hey, whatever. I found a Delrin rod in my stash I got from a garage sale, so I'm gonna make some Delrin bushings that'll go in here. That's the plan. So I gotta turn them down on ye old lathe. So let's see how. What do we have? Huh? Let's see. Approximately. 0.96. So 1.104. Got a little bit to remove. That comes out to about 144 thousandths to remove. So that's our starting point. So I've never turned Delrin before in my life. It's going to be an adventure. How fast? Oh. Just fine. Again, this is 100% not a precision deal needed here. Gonna try zero it off. I think that's zeroed. Yeah, touching. Yeah. All right, then. Oh boy, let's just. I forget which axis is which, of course. Yeah. That's approximately zero. So we want this axis. Oh, hell, be zeroed. This one. Yeah. That one doesn't really matter. That's the this way. We want the number of thousandths in. Autofocus, you rotten. Yeah. We'll try that out. Just will you focus? All right. Well, there's nothing for it. What did I say? 144 thousandths to remove. All right, Dan. Let's set this at 0, so it's half on the dial, in case you wanted to know. What would that be? Let's just start with 70 and then see what happens. There's 20. Let's go 40. Unfortunately, the tripod's in the way of the knob I need to turn, so I gotta scoot back. Let's try that. Get out of here. Delrin crumbs. It's a pain in the butt cleaning this thing up every single time you use it, but you gotta be diligent about your cleaning. Alright, I think that's it, isn't it? What am I doing? That's not the right tool. Oh my god. What is happening? I don't know. Putting it about 550 RPMs. That's touching it, well. Alright, we're just touching. A little bit more. Alright. Now we finally should be good. Cut it off. Eyeball measuring is the best. Yep. Right there. Okay. 2 Delrin bushings. Check. All right. So, got ready to put the video out, and I realized I didn't have one showing the thing working. Well, that was the reason. I forgot. I wanted to get the boat out on the water. Well, the trip came and went, and we decided not to take it because the weather was poor. I haven't cleaned the boat up for spring yet either. But anyway, it's on there. Show you how it works. So this is in its up position. Just a ball bungee holds it onto the fence on both sides, so it can't go anywhere. And when you want to deploy it, you just pull it down. Hinges down like that. Okay. Underneath here, I welded on those metal spurs that touch up there in the aluminum corner. Then there's lashing straps. Make sure they're not hooked on anything. And that's it. So the tendency would be for someone sitting on it to push it, it would slide backwards under the boat. That's what these 2 aluminum terribly welded struts are. That keeps that from happening. It's plenty strong for these aluminum members on the stainless steel bolts on the eye bolts. That's not going anywhere. That's all solid. I was trying to figure out how to attach the front. It's no problem. These lashing straps are plenty strong. If I get on here, I can stand right on the thing. it's not going anywhere. And I kind of wanted to give it a little bit of a backwards rake like that. The deck of the boat pretty much level, but I wanted to give that a little bit of a backwards rake, so when you sit on it, you have a tendency to kind of be held on it, as opposed to feeling like you're sliding off the front all the time. I may have to adjust it, and it's super easy. You just undo the knot, which is just the doubling up of the strap, press the spring release, and that gives it a little more room. The ball bungees just to keep the straps from slipping off the stainless steel down there, and I may put a stainless steel washer to ensure that the straps can't get off, and also the corners of the hex bolt don't tear up the straps, but we shall see. Anywho, to fold it back up, you do kind of got to make sure you push these over to the side where they're not going to get caught on stuff, but there's no tools involved. Yep. And then start hinging it up. You also got to make sure the strap doesn't get caught behind and get pinched in there. Might have to figure out some way to make sure that doesn't happen better than this. That's it. It folds right up to the fence. God dang it, sorry my fingers are in front of the camera. Just can't film stuff right. But that's it. And they can sit like that. They can boat like that. No tools are needed. You just lift it up. When you want it down, like I said, just hinge it on down. Flops into position. Get it from catching. Make sure that it's not slipped off of the bolts. I got blue, or I will have. I haven't done it yet. Blue Loctite's going to go on those stainless steel bolts to make sure they don't come out. But that's it. I think that's easy enough to deploy and use it, and easy to motor around. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's strong. I bet you can put nearly 500 pounds on it. It's not going to bend. And there wasn't anything available. There wasn't anything on the market I could find for pontoons for a bow-mounted swim platform. And the problem with this boat was, if I didn't make it clear, the arrangement of my boat back here, I can't have a swim deck in the back. Won't work. There's no room, nowhere to put it. I like those big storage compartments in the back, so I think it's a good design. You maximize the amount of space on this boat. But anyways, I think it's fully ready for operation. And I decided the way it's going to work is it's either in swimming pleasure cruising formation like this, no bass seats, no fishing stuff, or you go and then leave the swim deck on here, and alternately. And to take this off, by the way, all you gotta do is undo the strap, which probably the easiest way is just to slip it off the bolts down here, so you have the length set for next time. But anyway, the trolling motor won't fit on here with the swim platform. So if you want it in fishing formation, it's no big deal. Take off the strap, slide it off the end of those bolts. Take off those two bolts, which are just nylock. It's easy. Set the thing aside. You're ready to go. I can live with that because pretty much I think it's going to be, anytime we take it out with the camping group, it's going to be pleasure cruise idea. Anytime we take it out for specifically fishing in the spring, because I don't want to mess with fishing when it's ridiculously hot. I'd rather be in the water playing. Then we'll rig it the other way. That's how it works. I need to make a fun emblem for the front. Fold this up again, get over there. I have to figure out a way to make sure the straps don't get pinched in there. I guess you can just stick them in the front like that. Anywho, tippy tippy. There you have it. Well, hopefully this gives you some ideas. Maybe somebody will suggest a better idea. I think it kind of looks cool, like a big car grill, like a Mack truck grate. And a lot of friends are truck guys, I think it's going to be fun to make some kind of a spoof emblem and rivet it on there, and that's actually where you'll sit. I think that folds down, that's the top. So that's it. And by the way, the side view, I know these things stick out. They're kind of obnoxious, but they're not sharp. I don't think they're going to stab anybody or hit anything. I mean, they barely stick out past the tips. And you've already got that big tower sticking out in the front, so I don't think they're going to affect me at all. And it was the easiest way to get it done and put a brace on there. I suppose if I was super industrious, I could have put a hinge on here, and they'd hinge that way and fold against the bottom, so it'd be totally flat. Anyway, you can come up with your own ideas. This was the easiest way I could figure out to get it done. It was still a lot more work than I would have thought, but pretty happy with it. Nobody wanted to be a model and actually show it in operation, so I wanted to show it just statically sitting there, but at least you saw me stand on it. So there you go. Bow-mounted pontoon boat swim deck that I think should sit in about 3 or 4 inches of water. And when you get weight up here in the front of the boat, if there's nobody in the back, you'd probably be sitting in 5 or 6 inches of water, and that's what I wanted. All right, thanks for watching.